What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Saved Show with your host, Justin. This is a weekly updated journal where you get to see in real time as I struggle to become a better husband, better man, better father, and most importantly, you get to watch as I struggle to be closer to God every day. Christ is King. It's going to be rapid fire today, short on time, so putting this together and we'll get it out. A lot of good questions, I would say. With that in mind, if you don't mind sharing the show, liking, subscribing, following, all the things means a lot and helps the podcast to grow. And I greatly appreciate all the support lately. Some questions came my way this week that I would like to address here as well, just in case you're wondering. But as far as support goes, sharing the show is great. Liking on Instagram, subscribing on YouTube, Rumble, all the things. Also, check out the saved.store from now to, Wednesday now, the 22nd, when Ash Wednesday starts, the sale will be over. But right now, there is a get 2 items, get 10% off on the store. So if you like the designs, you believe in what we're doing here, go and check it out and get that 10% while you can. Greatly appreciate that. Questions I was asked this week. Concern starting a podcast and creating a store. If you are listening and you are also wondering, I record the podcast and use a tool called Anchor.fm, which has been really easy to use. It's free. So I started to record with my microphone on the laptop. I edit everything in iMovie, and then I am able to upload to Anchor an episode that I've already put together. From there, it's disseminated onto Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, whatever that's called, just wherever I've elected to have it disseminated. And then manually, I take the episode that I've edited together in iMovie and upload to YouTube and Rumble myself. Going along with that, as far as the thumbnails and anything you see on Instagram, I use Canva a lot, Canva Pro. Pretty cool, very robust tool, and there's templates and pictures and everything that you would really need to put stuff together. As far as the reels go, I do use, it's called CapCut, I think. Pretty slick. I can put short videos together relatively quickly with text, and you can upload audio from the from that app. I like to use Instagram audios, but that's a quick summary of behind the scenes. How do I do a podcast and how do I do Instagram? For the store, I used a company called Shopify. I wanted to drop ship so that I don't necessarily need to have inventory on hand myself with shipping materials. I have a vendor that I work with who takes care of that stuff, and I focus more so on what I think I'm better at is the design and picking the materials and making sure everything looks good. So if you want any information on that, ask me some questions. Certainly, I'd hope to help whoever asks to avoid some of the mistakes that I made starting out. So don't hesitate. I am always available, usually through Instagram is good. Another question, someone was interested in doing 75 hard, and they asked what diet I'm doing and some workout questions. So for 75 hard, I don't know. I'm considering it a 75-day experience. I could not say that I completed 75 hard earlier this month. The end of last month, January. I got about a full month in, and then I couldn't take a shower for a week to figure out some skin issue stuff with my dermatologist. They ran a test with a bunch of irritants on me. Couldn't take a shower, couldn't sweat. So did yoga, stuck to a diet, still did the reading, still did the gallon of water, progress picture. However, I did not execute on both workouts. So anyways, I'm going to consider it a 75-day experience. My real number is probably still in the 20s as far as recovering from that week. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I guess I am only 16 days in to this second round of 75 days. All that to say, still going at it every day with outdoor workout. Today was sprints. Sometimes it's running. Sometimes it's a walk, a brisk walk with a ruck plate on my back. Lately, I borrowed somebody's ruck plate for 30 pounds. I had a 20, so I'll have 50 pounds on my back, and just going out there. I live in Iowa, so it's pretty flat. So I try to keep the pace up, and the weight helps to make it as hard as possible. And sometimes even with the ruck on, I'll do some running, some jogging. Not the whole time, but for intervals to complete that 45-minute period. For indoor workouts, I've got a strength program that I like. Everything's in a superset, so I could do a bench, and then on the side I'm doing barbell rows for however many reps and times through. Keeps the heart rate up, and I try to keep moving, because if I took enough rest between sets during a strength training routine, could take a lot longer than 45 minutes. I don't necessarily have 45 minutes anyways, so I just keep moving, keep the heart rate up, and get through the strength training. I also have these training dice that my wife got me. I don't know how many sides there are, but you throw them, and you got the dog got a hold of this once. So you got planks, you got reverse crunches, wall sits, burpees, tricep dips. You got a bunch of good stuff, and there's 3 dice in this bag. So I'll just throw them and do an EMOM. So do the 3 exercises on the 3 dice, roll them again, do the 3 exercises. So in 3-minute increments, 3 exercises, 3 minutes, every minute on the minute, and do that as many times as possible until you hit 45 minutes. And I think that's 15 times through. So that's inside stuff. Reading materials. I have read through Mere Christianity, and I'm about to finish this book called 3 Views of the Millennium, trying to understand pre-A and post-millennium beliefs myself, trying to seek some understanding. That's 10 pages per night, getting through those. My next book, I think I'll do Confronting Christianity. It's this red book right there. I'll do that next, 10 pages per clip, and then I will get back into more of an academic book, which is right underneath, and that goes through another round of understanding eschatology and different things about Christianity itself. So that's books. The picture every morning is just kind of become routine. A gallon of water. I use a mason jar, and it's 4. It's 4 plus of those. I usually get through like 5 to get the gallon in. As far as diet goes, my hard rule is gluten-free. I've read that helps with some of the skin stuff that I'm going through, like with autoimmune, cleaning everything out of your gut biome, fixing it. Low sugar, low dairy is what I've chosen as optional, an additional thing. It's not the hard rule. If I have some cheese, it's not the end of the world. No challenge failed in that regard. So that is everything for 75 Hard. And then the podcast and the Shopify thing. So if you have any other questions, let me know. Maybe I'll put those answers out on Instagram as well, in case it helps anybody. Hoping that people can avoid some of my mistakes with the store, and hopefully you want to do 75 Hard too. I think I'm going to do an episode on this, maybe with someone, but certainly will do the episode. Andy Frisella, the guy that created 75 Hard, says that personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion, and I'd like to dive into that and what I think. So no spoilers, but that's coming. I think that's everything. Nice little update, some questions answered. As far as the episode today, I have some notes here. Won't share who or when or what, but recently someone reached out and asked to pray for them and their marriage. And I didn't offer advice, but I was asked some thoughts or things to work on. The individual said that they have a shorter temper with their spouse, and their spouse wasn't feeling loved. So that was the question, and I think I've got 5 questions in response to that. So before we dive into that, from Ephesians, you probably have heard the verse, Ephesians 5:22. Wives, submit to your husbands as unto the Lord. And that's where everybody gets hung up. the next verse is, "For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body." But yeah, people get hung up on the wives submitting to their husbands portion of that. Usually like feminist types. But when you get down to the next few verses, husbands, love your wives. This is 25. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. So yes, wives, submit to your husbands. But then it says, husbands, be willing to die for your wife. So it's not exactly a one-way street in this passage. You can't take one verse out of context for your argument. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church, and he gave himself for it. So not eager. Here we go. Little product plug. Not eager, forever willing. You, husband, do not need to be eager to die for your wife, but you must be willing, forever willing, just as Christ died for us. That's the example that we have. That's the way you got to live your life. So anyways, you have a short temper, this individual. Spouse wasn't feeling loved. My questions in response with some thoughts. First question, do you have family or babysitters nearby? Maybe a heavy emphasis on date night is in order right now. So my thinking with that, and my own experience personally in marriage, coming up on 7 years in May, is that date night really helps things. The time away, just the two of you, especially when children enter the picture, is good at maintaining the beginning part of that relationship was just you two. And you should find a home in each other. So getting back to that, even if it's just an hour away, hopefully you've got a babysitter nearby. And hopefully you guys can sit down. Doesn't have to be out. Certainly could be after the children are asleep. If babysitters aren't available, you can order takeout food. My wife and I do that sometimes. Or you can sit down with some cards, play a game, or spend time with each other somehow. Whatever it is that you guys need to do. But if you are having some trouble, I think date night is a good thing to emphasize. Right now, we're shooting for 2 times a month being out in the world to dinner, and then at least once a week would still be a date night, but 2 times out, and then stay in, read, play card games, watch a movie, spend time together. Another question to the person that asked. Do you have an older couple you can seek counsel from? They may be able to provide the right type of advice, especially if you trust them. One of the things that I think is important about being a part of a church community is that you are around people that are older than you, people that you might look up to and respect, and they might be able to provide solid advice, especially about marriage. My wife and I aren't involved yet, but our church has what we call community groups, and those are couples of all ages that get together weekly. And I believe there's an emphasis on going through like a study or guided questions somehow to focus on Christ and spend time together. And through things like that, being involved in the church, I think you're able to have mentors in your life that you wouldn't normally have otherwise. I don't think that you would ask your boss, especially if you're working remote. You're not going to ask them for marriage advice. So having people in your life, mom, dad, a couple from church, somebody important in your life that's older, been through the ringer, is important. Maybe reach out to them if you are facing some hard times in your marriage. Third question. Do you say thank you enough? Oftentimes I find that I am not appreciative enough for the invisible things that my wife does. A simple thank you goes a long way. With that one, it's mostly inspired by Andrew Klavan from the Daily Wire. They were having a debate about marriage, going back and forth, and he said that the most important thing that he's learned, and I think he's in his 60s, so he's been around, is that it's important to realize and be appreciative of all the invisible things, is what he put it, that your wife does, or your spouse does for you. So simple things, this is me speaking again, simple things like emptying the dishwasher, making a loaf of bread, making a meal, all these things that are part of your normal day that your spouse does. Don't be complacent and forget that those are things that take effort, takes time, and people do what they do, largely out of routine. That's fine, but also because it needs to be done. It needs to be done to keep the family unit moving and keeping everything together. My wife does a lot of the cooking. She's got a cleaning schedule. All these things that really make our house a home. She's a great homemaker, very appreciative, and I try to say thank you as much as I can. And that's not without a lot of learning over the last few years. So there you go. Another question, number 4. Are you encouraging her? People, everyone I know or have known are severely under-encouraged. Maybe she needs a little spirit lifting from you. So as you're speaking with your spouse, don't forget that there might not be a whole lot of encouragement from anywhere else. You got to be number one fan and biggest supporter for your spouse. It's another one of those things where maybe life gets routine and you're not taking the time to encourage them in what they're trying to do, and everybody's got their own pursuits and their own passions, their own hobbies. What can you do to support your spouse in whatever endeavor they're seeking to achieve? So there you go. And finally, not going to be crass with this, but question number 5, physical intimacy doesn't have to be sexual. I didn't ask about a sex life for this person that reached out, but maybe holding hands is something your wife would appreciate. So holding hands is a simple example, but there's cuddling, looking each other in the eyes. There's plenty of things that you can do. It's not sexual based to be intimate with your partner, and that goes a long way. That type of intimacy is only between you and your spouse, and if you are not engaging in intimacy, it can give you a few problems. It's one of the beautiful things about marriage, something you can only do with your spouse. Don't neglect it. We'll just leave it there. So there you go. If you yourself listening are having some issues in your marriage, my totally unsolicited advice coming from a guy with a podcast that you don't know, take it or leave it. But if you're having troubles with your marriage, do you have babysitters nearby? Can you pull off a date night? Is there an older couple near you that you trust you can seek counsel from? Do you say thank you enough? Are you appreciating all the things that your spouse is doing? Are you encouraging your spouse? Everyone's under-encouraged. And then lastly, physical intimacy. Doesn't have to be sexual. Why don't you hold hands? Why don't you get some cuddling in as you can? So, husbands, die for your wife. Wives, submit to your husband. And maybe those questions might prove helpful for you. Other than that, I got a time out here. This will drop tomorrow on Sunday, so I hope you're enjoying the Lord's Day. Happy Sabbath, breaking bread, and drink with fellow countrymen, friends, and family. I love you. God loves you. He's blessed us all in many different ways. Encourage your wife, encourage your husband, and don't forget that you are saved through Christ.